On the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz comes an unprecedented exhibition about one of history's darkest moments. Auschwitz, not long ago, not far away, features more than 500 original objects, first-hand accounts, and survivor testimonies that tell the powerful story of the Auschwitz concentration camp, its history and legacy, and the underlying conditions that allowed the Holocaust to happen. On now exclusively at ROM. Tickets at rom.ca.
Thanks, Mayor, and welcome everyone. It's a time for us to come together and understand the power of family, of community, of faith.
That's what it sounded like a month ago at Toronto City Hall when the mayor, Olivia Chow, welcomed a group of specially invited Jewish leaders as her guests to a Passover reception. The event was held April 16th in the council members' lounge right above council chambers. There were kosher hors d'oeuvres, including matzah crackers with lox, charred eggplant and pomegranate salad, and a gluten-free tabbouleh couscous salad. When I arrived, some of the city staffers were standing near the entrance practicing pronouncing the appropriate Hebrew greeting correctly.
Chag Sameach.
You got it.
Okay, great.
Practicing, right?
I just want to get it right.
Let's hear.
Chag Sameach.
Awesome. Well done.
See?
It's actually the second time the mayor has hosted a Passover reception since Olivia Chow was elected in June 2023. But after a series of actions and statements since October 7th badly strained her relationship with Toronto's Jewish community, in recent weeks it appears the mayor has been making a concerted effort to fix things, to show up more for the Jewish community. And community leaders tell me they've also noticed a change. Some say they now have a direct line to the mayor's office. Although some Jewish people are still skeptical because of her early public social media posts after October 7th, when she lumped in Palestinian suffering, even though Israel hadn't yet launched a military campaign in Gaza. And a year later, Chow didn't come to the one-year anniversary memorial event for October 7th, her office saying she hadn't been invited, which turned out not to be true, and she later apologized for that. But fast forward to now, and on top of the Passover meet and greet, Chow's recently attended a flurry of Jewish events. The ROM's new show on Auschwitz, a vigil for the Bibas family, a tour of the Nova Music Festival exhibit. And the very next night, she came to a community Yom HaShoah Holocaust commemorative evening at a local synagogue. And last summer, she came to that Jewish girls' school that was shot at several times and to the Pride of Israel synagogue, which had been vandalized. Still, the feeling persists that the mayor of Canada's biggest city failed to take a more visible and louder public role sooner in the wake of skyrocketing incidents of hate crimes against the Jewish community, and hasn't done much concrete yet to stop these intimidating anti-Israel, anti-Jewish protests outside local schools and community centers and synagogues and businesses, which is why many eyes will be watching this week when the city's long-anticipated report is released on whether Toronto can and should adopt so-called bubble legislation that would keep protesters a safer distance away from the front doors of vulnerable community buildings, and waiting to see what Mayor Chow will say about it. I'm Ellen Besner, and this is what Jewish Canada sounds like for Wednesday, May 14th, 2025. Welcome to the CJN Daily, a podcast of the Canadian Jewish News, and made possible in part thanks to the generous support of the Ira Gluskin and Maxine Granovsky-Gluskin Charitable Foundation. When the city's protocol office sent me an email inviting us to the Mayor Chow Passover reception, the email came on April 2nd, so I actually thought it was a joke, but it turned out to be legit. And I accepted eagerly because it would give us the chance to try to get an in-person interview with Olivia Chow. We've tried for months since October 7th, but our requests were never accepted. And so, although Chow was scheduled to deliver prepared remarks during the formal part of the evening, I went up and introduced myself before the program began as she was mingling with her guests, and while I didn't get that sit-down opportunity to ask her all the questions on my list, she did give me a preview of what her official message to the community would cover. I would like to just know what you hope to do having this reception. What was the idea behind it?
Yeah, well, it's Passover, It's reflection, deliverance. It's about coming together. It's the Seder dinner. And it is also a time to come together in difficult times because the hostages are still not free, not all of them, and that the hate is continuing in the city, so the anti-Semitism. So it's important for all of us to come together. In our city, we have a Jewish staff team, and they will be speaking. Our counselors will be speaking and hosting, and having a reception here. Meeting some of my friends I haven't seen for a while, all coming together. Be united in our desire to have a city where everyone belongs. And
will you be speaking about things that people have asked, like bubble legislation and protests, more police presence?
I talk a bit about the police. The police, the last I saw, had, I think, spent about $20 million on the Project Resolute. And we have hired and plan to have a 5-year staffing plan. That's 700 more police officers. That's and my speech. For the last 10 years, the police never had a staffing plan. So there are years where they didn't hire people, and because there were a lot of retirement, the numbers went down quite a lot. I put my budget chief on the police service board. She's Shirley Carroll, she's now the chair, and which is why you saw a very speedy negotiation in 5 weeks with the police association. And the chief, they're all working very well together to make sure that people are protected. So, the bubble song one is going through, I believe, consultation right now.
May 1st is the cutoff date.
Yeah, it's coming back. I think it was important to make sure there's good consultation because different folks might want different places protected. So we'll see what comes back.
And now the Mark Carney has now said he's going to legislate it federally if he gets elected. So,
What did he say?
Last week. That they will bring in bubble legislation federally if he gets elected.
Oh, okay, that would make us even easier because we were one of the previous. Oh, here are my old friends.
Last question.
I want to give people hugs. Yeah. One of the earlier conversation when they first came to council, not the last round and the one before, the city solicitor said that legally it won't. You heard what she said.
And Michael Kirshner also said the same thing provincially a couple of weeks ago. So.
Yeah.
Have you been?
So anyway, so we'll see what the feds do, and I'm just going to go give Nathan Rothman a big.
Do you want to say Happy Passover? You want to say Chag Sameach? No. Okay, that's it. Bye.
The
Thanks.
long-promised so-called bubble bylaw actually first came before City Council in Toronto a year ago in May 2024, around the time the city of Vaughan had introduced theirs, and other cities would soon follow, including Mississauga and Brampton. Oakville and Ottawa are now debating adopting some too. Last May, City Council said no bubble law and instead decided to ask the province of Ontario to bring in a law. That also got defeated. Instead, Council sent it back to staff for an action framework. That meant months of studies and public consultations. Groups and people were encouraged to submit presentations online through a portal on the city's website, and the closing date was May 1st. I attended one of those public consultations. It was conducted online on April 30th. You couldn't see or hear hear any of the other participants. Staff asked us a series of questions and then shared the results live.
And just thinking of the last few years, have you personally taken part in a public demonstration? So you should see that question on your screen with the options of yes, no, or unsure.
The answers were very one-sided. 90% of the people completely opposed a bubble bylaw. The City of Vaughan and other municipalities have protesters required to stay back about 100 meters. If Toronto was to adopt a bubble bylaw, 80% of the participants in my meeting don't want safe zones established at any distance from the buildings. The city wants to try to balance the mayor's commitment to keep Toronto safe from hate, but also respect the right to protest and freedom of expression that's enshrined in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And indeed, the City of Calgary's bubble bylaw is being challenged in the courts now.
On the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz comes an unprecedented exhibition about one of history's darkest moments. Auschwitz, not long ago, not far away, features more than 500 original objects, first-hand accounts, and survivor testimonies that tell the powerful story of the Auschwitz concentration camp, its history and legacy, and the underlying conditions that allowed the Holocaust to happen. On now exclusively at ROM. Tickets at rom.ca.
Here's Mayor Chow again from her formal remarks.
And I know that makes this Passover another difficult one. Many are thinking about the 59 hostages. Many are worried about the rise in anti-Semitism. Many are gripped by fear and insecurity. Toronto is one of the most important centers of Jewish life in the world, and it's unacceptable that Jewish Torontonians are worried about practicing their faith, that you are forced to confront hate on and offline. You should not, Jewish Torontonians should not be worried about the safety, and whether it's going to a community center, to a local school, or synagogues, places so important to communal life and vital to the fabric of our city. And there's no place for anti-Semitism here, and Toronto remains a place where Jewish people must feel safe. As your mayor, working closely with the police chief, our wonderful city councillors, our staff, including Councillor, of course, Pasternak, that I always, listening to you, learn something. And Councillor Charles Lynn, thank you for that heartfelt conversation, that reflection. And by working together, we will do everything we can to make sure people feel safe and that you feel belong in this city. The Passover Seder is a unique and powerful tradition and a symbol of perseverance of the Jewish people, the resilience of the people and the strength of the community in the face of persecution, and being able to break free. Its most impactful ritual of the Seder to me is the questioning of why this night is different from all other nights. To me, this tradition of inquiry, the interpretation, is just powerful. And led by the youngest participant, it sparks the dynamic and timeless story of Passover. Told and retold over thousands of years, it's a story of people led by a prophet who are rewarded with deliverance. And it can bring comfort in dark times like this, and strength. The strength in the trust and faith it took to shepherd a people from slavery to the promised land. And it can bring a path forward, because from that strength we must summon the courage to say with one voice that Toronto must remain free of hate for everyone.
So how have the mayor's supportive remarks and gestures gone over with some Jewish leaders? Some groups, like CJA, the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs, worry the bubble legislation might go ahead but would be limited in scope, restricted to just synagogues or places of worship, but not schools or community centers. CJA says Toronto needs this bylaw now because if the federal government keeps the promise that Mark Carney's Liberals made in the election campaign to change the criminal code and bring in a federal bubble law, it would take a long time until that happens. And there has to be something clear on the books in the meantime that Toronto police can enforce. Ilan Pratzer is chair of the CJA board.
Well, what I'm looking for is what the community is looking for. The community in Toronto and in Canada at large feels insecure, feels underrepresented by their political leaders, and is expecting people to stand up for what's right. And that's what I'm looking for, and that's what the community is looking for.
I know we're talking in the middle of a federal election, but here it's a municipal situation. You're talking about leadership. Specifically, what has CJA asked the city to do in terms of bubble legislation or
I know we don't like to refer to it as bubble legislation, but yes, both of them. Bubble legislation, but also that protests should be, it's not that protests shouldn't happen. Protests, of course, are part of our society, but that protests should be basically exercised in a way that's appropriate for our Canadian values and in accordance with our legal system, and which I'm questioning whether they are and whether we're engaging in stopping behavior that's inappropriate and illegal.
Michael Gilmore's synagogue, Kehilat Shari Torah in Toronto, was vandalized 8 times since October 7th. Police have charged a Toronto man with some of the arson attacks, but there are other suspects still at large.
First of all, were you surprised that there's been an invitation for Passover, or is this something you've done before?
No, I was surprised. It was a welcome surprise, but it's nice that Kehilat Shari Torah isn't flying under the radar in terms of our needs and what our community's been going through. So that's a really nice change to actually feel recognized and feel like we can be heard. Not necessarily that we have been yet, but that there's possibility for us to be heard and acknowledged, and for the whole Jewish community as well.
What do you want her to hear from you?
Just to really, my goal is to really stress the importance of speech and how when you let negative hate speech fester in a community, in a city, it boils over and you can't put it back together once it all falls apart. And I think that if we can kind of really push forward with stopping hate before it starts, especially against the Jewish community, that'd be a big step towards preventing synagogue vandalism, schools getting shot, things like that.
Okay, so they maybe arrested the guy who did some of your synagogue arson, but not all of them. There's others out there. Are you pushing still for speedy bubble legislation from the city, because it's now delayed like a year?
Yeah, no, it's terrible, but no, I really am. That would be very helpful. You can't arrest an ideology, and I think the more that our elected officials stand up at the onset and say this is not okay, from the river to the sea is a call to genocide, it's not okay, waving terrorist organization flags is not okay. If that starts getting pushed back from the start, I think it can go a long way, but we need some legislature that's actually going to help our community.
Hi, how are you?
Toronto City Councillor James Pasternak's ward has seen many anti-Semitic and anti-Israel hate crimes since October 7th.
Hello, Councillor.
Hi, how are you?
Good
to see you. You here for a scandal or something?
No, I got actually invited.
Oh, you're kidding.
So I'm hoping that, it'll make a nice story.
Good.
So why is the mayor having a Pesach reception, and is this something you had a hand in?
Well, look, Passover is a holiday of religious significance. It is a period of where we read the Haggadah and celebrate and talk about freedom. It is, the mayor has decided to reach out to the Jewish community to host this reception and share remarks. And I've been asked to participate, and I look forward to speaking.
Do you know, you've been here a long time, is this the first time any mayor has done something for Pesach? I mean, they've had flag racings, they've had other things.
No, I think we've done Hanukkah and Pesach and Rosh Hashanah receptions in the past. With Hanukkah, it's either out on the square or we've done some stuff inside City Hall. With Pesach, we did it last year. It was a pre-Pesach reception, and with Rosh Hashanah, we do something as well. We've done it small. We've done it big, but we've always recognized the holidays at most of the holidays. Of course, there's more somber events such as Holocaust Remembrance that we've done as well. We do the Israel flag raising, and of course, we
which she didn't come to because it was divisive.
Yes, no, it was. I just strongly disagreed with those comments after seeing mobs on the streets for a good part of a year, calling for the destruction of Israel. I found it a little real odd and offensive that the flag raising, a sign of unity, would be considered divisive.
Okay, what do you hope the message is going to be to her today from the people around here?
Well, I think it's an attempt to reach out. It's an attempt to speak to the Jewish community. There are profound differences. This community is very upset and very frustrated. There's been a lack of leadership.
Bubble legislation has been delayed
across the country, from Ottawa down to the local level. It's a societal failure where there's been a lack of leadership to grapple with these hateful mobs and these hate crimes that are gripping our city.
While we wait for the bubble report and see how the council votes on it and what the mayor does, many leaders are hoping that she will reverse her previous precedents on another upcoming event, the Walk for Israel, the community's signature solidarity march. She didn't attend last year or in 2023 when she was running for office. This year's walk is on Sunday, May 25th. She has been invited. I asked her office if it's on her schedule. They said her schedule for May isn't set yet. And that's what Jewish Canada sounds like for this episode of the CJN Daily. Made possible in part thanks to the generous support of the Ira Gluskin and Maxine Granovsky-Gluskin Charitable Foundation. Our show is produced by Zachary Judah Kaufman and Andrea Varsany. Executive producer is Michael Freeman, and our theme is by Dov Beck-Levine. Thanks for listening.
On the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz comes an unprecedented exhibition about one of history's darkest moments. Auschwitz, not long ago, not far away, features more than 500 original objects, first-hand accounts, and survivor testimonies that tell the powerful story of the Auschwitz concentration camp, its history and legacy, and the underlying conditions that allowed the Holocaust to happen. On now exclusively at ROM. Tickets at rom.ca.